What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Fast. Today, let's get started with PFL Chairman Donn Davis lays out expectations for Francis Ngannou in 2025. Francis Ngannou has an exciting year ahead as he balances his pursuits in both boxing and MMA. Ngannou has expressed his openness to competing in both sports, though his next move hinges on discussions with the Professional Fighters League. The promotion's founder and chairman, Donn Davis, confirmed that Francis remains under contract with the organization and shared insights into their collaborative planning process. He is still under the same contract with us. We're happy, he's happy. Number 2, we work very partner-like with Francis. We plan, what does he want to do? Why does he want to do that? What are the full options? We sit down with him like you would any real partner. Davis indicated that Francis is likely to compete in both boxing and MMA in 2025, but suggested the former could come first due to the lucrative opportunities available. If I had to guess, I would think boxing will be first, given the opportunities he has. I don't want to say anything about that. That's his business for him to announce, but he has unbelievable boxing opportunities. So I think that's more likely to come first, and MMA is likely to come second. According to Davis, Ngannou's fans can expect to see him compete in one fight in each sport this year. What I believe you'll see from Francis this year is one MMA and PFL and one boxing from Francis. So I think fans of Francis will see him do one of each this year. Henry Cejudo is giving Merab Dvalishvili the ultimate praise following UFC 311. Dvalishvili opened a lot of eyes when his first UFC bantamweight championship defense was over. The Georgian champion put his gold at stake against the previously unbeaten Umar Nurmagomedov. While the challenger had a strong start in the fight, it was Dvalishvili who proved to have the superior conditioning, and his grappling was on point against tough opposition. Dvalishvili's resume has been impressive enough for Cejudo to call him the greatest MMA bantamweight of all time. Henry Cejudo has been at the mountaintop in 2 weight classes. One of those division was bantamweight. Having shared the octagon with Merab Dvalishvili and witnessing his body of work, Triple C is comfortable calling his former foe the 135-pound GOAT. You have to, man. Jan, O'Malley, Cejudo, Umar, Moraes, Aldo. I mean, he's fought everybody. He's beat everybody in this division, you could say in their prime. You just can, man. Merab is the bantamweight GOAT, at least in my eyes. He only has one title defense, but the people who he has beaten is great. Great top 5 resume maybe in UFC period right now. Kamaru Usman thinks Islam Makhachev should fight Belal Muhammad. Kamaru Usman doesn't believe that Islam Makhachev should hesitate to fight Belal Muhammad. Makhachev recently set a new record for the most successful UFC lightweight title defenses in the promotion's history. With how dominant he has been at 155 pounds, many believe it's only a matter of time before he tries his hand at welterweight. Makhachev has even said that his dream is to become a 2-division UFC champion. The hang-up here is that Muhammad is the reigning UFC welterweight title holder, and he trains with Makhachev. Kamaru Usman doesn't believe that Islam Makhachev should hesitate to fight Belal Muhammad if it means the welterweight title is at stake. I think if I was him, the decision that I would make next, 100% I would definitely probably go up. This whole notion of Belal training with them, bro, no, I don't care. Just because he comes into our camp, just tries to use our bodies and learn our style, I'm moving up, I'm taking that belt, and hey, I'm moving on to the next. The next UFC welterweight title fight is expected to be Muhammad versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. Makhachev recently admitted that he'd rather not fight Rakhmonov either, which would make his welterweight title aspirations tough. Time will tell if Makhachev will eventually move up to 170 pounds and attempt to secure UFC gold in a second weight class. Beneil Dariush says he was cutting weight to fight Islam Makhachev at UFC 311. Beneil Dariush thought he was fighting Islam Makhachev at UFC 311, or at least he hoped so. When Arman Tsarukyan pulled out of Saturday's main event against lightweight champion Islam Makhachev, the UFC needed a replacement opponent. The 2 most worthy candidates were Dariush and Renato Moicano, who were scheduled to face each other on the main card. Dariush revealed that he was prepping to make championship weight in case, but the UFC wound up giving Moicano the opportunity instead. I get down to 156 actually pretty easily. I get down to 156 3 hours before weigh-ins, and then I was like, okay, I've got 1 more pound. So I take a little break, and then I cut the last pound. I get on the scale 9 a.m., I start rehydrating, I go back to my room and Ali Abdelaziz walks in and he says to me, yeah, so they gave the fight to Moicano. They're going to take care of you as far as payment, show and win, but you're not fighting tomorrow. I was upset, obviously. A chance to fight for the title went to someone else. Merab Dvalishvili's coach reveals slew of injuries ahead of UFC 311 win over Umar Nurmagomedov. Merab Dvalishvili was dealing with quite a bit of adversity leading into UFC 311. During fight week, there was a noticeable gash on Dvalishvili's leg, but according to his head coach John Wood, that's not the only thing he was going through. He got his leg cut up on our bleachers. He was walking by the bleachers and literally, you'll see the pictures come out I'm sure in the next few days, but cuts all over. He left it, kept training through it, eventually got it stitched up too late, and then stitches busted, and then he re-stitched it, and then just his whole shin became infected. It was a concern of even getting cleared for this fight, but Merab's like, no, I'm not gonna show any kind of weakness, I don't care, it's fine. So we had that, and basically he couldn't use that leg for the entire camp. UFC Embedded came by, or Countdown, and he was out doing his workout in the street, and he jumped up the wrong way, and then pinched the vertebrae, and couldn't walk for a week. So I was like, oh my god. So it was a complicated camp. However, Wood says once Dvalishvili made weight, he put all that behind him. After losing the first 2 rounds on 2 of the judges' scorecards, Dvalishvili was able to outlast Nurmagomedov and win the last 3 rounds. But all in all, with all that being said, and I told this to Merab, it didn't matter how good he looked in his sparring. How good he was performing in the gym told me what I needed to know. I just needed to make sure that his mind was on board when he got into that cage. And that is something about Merab that you cannot teach. It is just in him. He knows how to lock in the day of the fight. Alex Pereira says he requested ordinary guy Magomed Ankalaev at UFC 313 and knows who's next. UFC light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira clarifies that he was never ducking Magomed Ankalaev. Ankalaev has been heavily campaigning to fight Pereira, but was passed up for a title fight on several occasions. Pereira, who defended his title 3 times in the span of 6 months in 2024, says he asked to fight Ankalaev in March. Looking at him, the way that he fights, he's an ordinary guy. I've evolved a lot and I'm ready for him. After suffering a knockout loss to Pereira at UFC 303, Iri Prochazka returned to the win column by knocking out former champion Jamal Hill Saturday at UFC 311. Prochazka has lost to Pereira twice in title fights, but is eager for another shot at him. Pereira is open to a trilogy bout. I'm ready to fight anybody. It doesn't matter who it is. Right now, it's Ankalaev's time. I'm going to fight Ankalaev. But after this fight, if everything's doing good, we're going to give Iri an opportunity. That's what he said that he wants, and he's going to have it. Tom Aspinall finds it funny how Dana White jumped ship from John Jones in pound-for-pound debate. Tom Aspinall is surprised to see Dana White now call Islam Makhachev pound-for-pound #1 after UFC 311. Makhachev is already the UFC's #1 pound-for-pound fighter, a decision UFC CEO Dana White lambasted. White has reiterated that UFC heavyweight champion John Jones should be #1, but when asked if Makhachev's willingness to fight anyone at any time has changed his mind, he finally caved. Now we're seeing Dana White coming out and saying that he's the pound-for-pound #1 in the world, Islam Makhachev. As we all know, to me, pound-for-pound is a lot of made-up stuff. I don't look into that. But it's just funny that he's kind of jumped ship now from John Jones to Islam. Islam did what he was supposed to do. Went out there, fought whoever was put in front of him, which is what a champion is supposed to do. Fought a guy that the UFC told him to fight, got the win, and he's levels above anybody else in that division. He's going to hold the belt for a long, long time, and that is something that I'm very excited for because I'm a massive Islam Makhachev fan.